Everybody, welcome. Another AX Extra midweek. I'm not going to mess around too long babbling on about stuff this time because we've got two very busy individuals we want to speak to tonight. We're all busy men, but these two are even busier. Let's get them on. Two of Northern Ireland's greatest, Mr. JR, Johnny Ray, who's now just hooked up to his 4G network, so we're flying, and Geordie Crockard, who is no doubt been dealing with a load of emails and phone calls reference all things Honda today. Fellas, how are you all doing?
I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm currently in Portugal. I've had 3 days of testing. Didn't get much testing done due to the bad weather out here, so thankfully Arenacross is under a roof in Belfast this weekend and not out here in the rain of Portugal.
Oh, yeah. One thing I am certain that I'm pleased of, A, having a weekend off last week in the tour, and secondly, that we didn't go to Northern Ireland last weekend. Because, wow, you guys took a proper battering. You wasn't at home, though, Johnny, were you?
No, unfortunately not, because I had to listen to my wife tell me that one of the biggest trees in our garden came down. Fortunately, it came down away from the house, and the house isn't damaged. But yeah, it was the first ever red alert in Ireland, so I didn't get to experience that one.
Geordie, what were you up to?
Yeah, like Jonathan said, there was a lot of damage from the wind, electricity out, phone coverage down. It was a little bit like COVID, like lockdown, a little bit strange. But yep, we're all okay. You know, some people have been hit harder than others. I get out of it unscathed. I'm all right, so no damage. I can go on.
So that's the Go on, Johnny.
Sorry, I was going to say my kids couldn't play Fortnite for a week, so that was a massive drama in our household.
Maybe have a power outage more often. So yeah. Listen, that's the weather report. So let's talk about obviously the weekend. We have been doing Arenacross, much to my amazement and almost a frightening statistic. We're coming up to the 100th show when we or event when we get to Manchester. So that would be the 100th night of Arenacross, to which I've personally done them all, which is, oh God. Anyway, you two have done, if you haven't raced there, you've been there more often than not. You know, you've both grown up racing motocross in Northern Ireland. And as I had Martin Barr on and Jason Mira in the week also, and just saying like, just motorcycling over there is so huge. But obviously, like motocross in particular, you guys throw out some real talent. Like Johnny, you know, some people still don't know that you were like a youth motocross champion. I mean, and here you are now, six-time world superbike champion. So, I mean, what is it about Northern Ireland and the talent over there? Is it the tracks, the adversity with the weather? What?
I'm not sure. You know, I grew up around my father road racing, and Joey Dunlop was the pin-up road racer in Northern Ireland. And when I started motocrossing, 94, 95, 96, you know, Gordy was getting into his stride. So there was always somebody, you know, I think I vividly remember the atmosphere at like, you know, Desert Martin back in the day when a British championship would come to there. The place would be nuts. It would be absolutely amazing. And, you know, after Gordy, then it was Martin Barr. It was the same sort of atmosphere. And it's like when, you know, Arenacross comes, it's been, before SSE, it was known as the Odyssey Arena, and
yeah,
you can, you know, when the home heroes are doing well in the night, it's incredible. The crowd just get behind them like it's like being at a football match, and you don't even need to watch the racing to know that there's an overtake because the crowd are going nuts. The atmosphere is that good. So I don't know. I think I don't know why we've bred good motorbike riders over the years, but yeah, we've been very fortunate off-road to have two, well, Gordy and then after Martin Barr to fly the flag in the Arenacross and British motocross.
You said off-road. You're not just off-road. As he sits there, Gordy, a six-time world champion on the old asphalt. It's I don't think it's just off-road that you guys have excelled. Gordy, I can remember, just quickly before we talk more about the actual Arenacross, I remember when you first come over, started racing British motocross, and I kind of could tell quite early on, growing up racing down the southwest, we had a lot of off-cambered, you know, sort of stony tracks or whatever, and I could tell straight away, going, oh yeah, like he knows his way around like I would call like natural terrain motocross tracks. That was always a strong point for you, wasn't it? Like, that's why you always rode really well at Farley and places like that. Eventually cracked Talavera, by the way. I still bring that up because it's always a good story. So you think the tracks had something to do with it?
Yes. You become a specialist in your own arena if you want to win in your own arena. So racing locally, racing nationally, then you move on, race regional, and eventually you race internationally. Sand is sand. Desert Martin sand is no different to the sand in Holland. It's sand. The climate doesn't affect it. Whereas when the sun shines hard on the ground in Spain, it's fairly different to when the sun shines the odd time here, on our soil. So our soil is very arable and grassy, and I was so used to that type of dirt. The particular area where I grew up was a rocky type of soil. So I became a specialist at that because I wanted to win locally. When I came across to race in the UK, it was a whole new learning. The bumps, the ruts, the soil, everything was completely different. The traction was different because of the type of dirt that there is throughout the mainland, and also the climate. And if you broaden that even further, France, Italy, Spain, it's very, very different. So you just got to learn your trade on all of the different type of dirt that there is. And as you pointed out, when I first went to race in Spain, I had no experience, couldn't read the ground, didn't understand what's slippy, what's grippy, didn't know what to do, so I had to apply myself to figure out how to master it. And that's just the way it is. So it depends where you're going to race. If you're going to become an international rider, you've got to suck it up that in the beginning, you're going to be inexperienced, You
mastered it though. 2 years later, I think first year you struggled. I think even second year you might have even struggled to qualify, and then boom, the next year not only did you qualify, you learned to qualify, and then went out and won the GP.
Yeah, it was.
It's like what's going on there?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It was a unique scenario for that to happen, and it's a standout moment for me. It taught me very well. About how if you apply yourself and practice and discipline and all of the things that if you read a self-help book, you come out, better off than when you started reading the book.
Mate. It was a standout moment for me as well, because only the year before I was giving you a tow to try and qualify, and then the following year you win the GP. I had to have a serious look in the mirror. Like,
indeed,
where have I gone wrong in the last year? So I was good.
You brought up there that you're coming up to the 100th, the centenary Arenacross. I recall the beginning of the Arenacross series, and we raced in Exeter, we raced in Birmingham, we did Belfast, and I thought that I was riding Anaheim 1. This is like, wow, I'm doing Supercross. But come on, let's face it, it's about 5 corners. The lap time is about 20 seconds, depending on how good you are, or how many times you crash. And you look back at that old footage, and we as motocross riders were all absolute beginners. We didn't know how to ride whips, how to do those 180 bowls, a 50-meter start, if even it is 50 meters, all that stuff. And now you've got riders who are excelling at it, and the Frenchies are good at it. You got the Americans, the Canadians, all the rest of it. But I think we've come a long way in terms of the skill that the riders have developed, and it's great that the children are taking part. They can learn. I mean, Jonathan, you were a child whenever you raced in the Arenacross back in the Odyssey on your 125, I think. And I remember watching you. Actually, was it KTM you had?
I did I think I can't remember the first year Arenacross came back. I did 2002 on a Honda, and then 2002 on a KTM, and 3 on a KTM. Yeah.
I actually remember
you.
I think 2001. I even wrote it. 3 years and a 125 as a schoolboy.
Yeah.
Johnny, did you do the year before Matt rebranded it Arenacross, where it was, I think it called it like International Supercross, is what Gordy's talking about there as well, and it was on Channel
UK
4, wasn't
Supercross.
it? It was on Channel 4 because I've forgotten his name now. The presenter who does Ski Sunday, Ed, came over and presented it, and I'm sure that you were racing that night.
Yeah.
There's
footage of that. You can search it on YouTube. It's all about there. Yeah.
Was that what year did they lower you from the ceiling, Gordy? I mean, that was probably more terrifying than racing, wasn't it?
There was a few different times when we did things like that. Yeah. I don't remember. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. But I always thought, yeah, I'm a game lad. I'm up for anything. And whenever I went actually up onto the gangway, I thought, oh, I've bit off more than I can chew here. My life as such is in the hands of this linesman who I've just been introduced to, and I don't know him. And he's just like, yeah, just get over the edge there. I'll hold you. And I'm going, you sure? It was good. It was a good rush. Yeah.
Oh God, I hope nobody mentioned before you what happened to Jackie Vimond. I hope not.
Yes, that was the whole joke. That was
it? Somebody said that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We were all joking about that.
For those of you that don't know, something similar happened in Paris Supercross with Jackie Vimond, and one of the cables broke or whatever. He ended up falling to the ground and breaking his back. So that's nice of somebody to mention that prior to you doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a mate's for. Johnny, I remember though, just recently, obviously when the news broke that you were switching over to Yamaha, what was it, only 2 years ago when we came back from COVID, you came out to Belfast on a 250F and spun some laps. Not only did you look good, really good on the Arenacross track, on your new Yamaha ride, we didn't even have the house lights up and you were popping doubles and like doubling through the whoops and stuff. Like surely at that point, the road racing guys, were they in the audience that night? Because I know we always kind of seem to sync up with the awards over in Northern Ireland at the same time.
Yeah. So, fortunately, I didn't have any bosses over at the time. I mean, there's plenty of pictures out, and it's been in my road race contracts that I'm prohibited from quite a lot of sports, like winter sports, like skiing.
Yeah.
I can ride motocross bikes, but there is small print in there that the wheels can't leave the ground. So basically, supermoto, flat track, old school scrambling with no jumps. But
come on,
it doesn't take too far to look into my Instagram page to know that I love motocross and hitting jumps. And I remember there was a year, I think it was 2 years ago, at a 252 stroke, and Matt allowed me to come up in the daytime after practice before they prepped the track, and I spun some laps in practice, and I absolutely loved it. It was it sort of whetted my appetite to go back and actually do a bit of racing, but only after the road race career is over. So
we can do that. We can do that. Well, hopefully we're still coming to Belfast then when that happens. You might be a little bit over the hill regards of your age, but the talent might. And maybe we can get you racing the amateur class or something. Gordy, I'm not.
The amateur class would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gordy's probably decided that enough's enough, and I can't see I can convince Gordy to come back and do a night of Arenacross racing. Can I? Surely not.
I don't think anyone would enjoy it. I don't think I would enjoy it. I don't think anybody watching would enjoy it. I just can't see the point. Yeah.
What a perfect sales pitch to get people to come out to Arenacross, Gordy. But no, in all fairness, you guys obviously both come out and support it and love it. Like you said, it is something different. It's another discipline, really, isn't it? Another world. So as a rider, going back to, it's not just the skill set. It must be such a buzz, not only for you but for your sponsors and stuff, to have that, for a better word, sort of glamorous feel to it, to at least if it's just for 2 nights only. So what, both living in Northern Ireland, what does the Arenacross bring to the country when we come over? I mean, for the community, it must be like something that everybody looks forward to. I certainly hope so.
Let you go, Gordy.
Yeah, no, it's the old cliche, about you're bringing the sport to the people. You're bringing the people, you are showcasing your sport, and they're sat in the warm arena with a show in front of them, you know, the soda pop and the popcorn and the kids, and it's a night out for the family. You try and drag the missus and the kids to a remote circuit in the middle of nowhere, you know, on a storm weekend and everything else with it, where there's not proper toilets, you know, that's tough to do and tough to get over the line, where somebody's actually going to drive away and go, hey, should we go the next time this is in town? Testament to the Arenacross that is in Belfast. It's been going, you know, 2001, I think, was the first that that's a lot of these things have a shelf life. You know, people are like, oh yeah, I've seen it before. Yeah. That again, oh, something new. Let's go and watch monster trucks. You know, whereas we are getting sellouts Friday night and Saturday nights, year on year. You know, brilliant. So for me, there's an example of one that I know of. I'm sure there's lots of other examples, but there's an example of a kid that came and watched it. He'd never been on a bike in his life, hadn't been on a motorcycle, and he saw the freestyle show, and he decided that the following year he was going to be part of the freestyle show. And with a little bit of help from Kevin Carson, Jonathan, as you know, with a little bit of help from Kevin, he got a bike and he got a practice ramp and everything else, and he got a bit of sponsorship, and he came and he took part in the show, and he did the freestyle ramps. Now his jumps were, you know, his tricks were limited, but that's the case of it, you know, where somebody has been there, got inspired, decided I want to do it. So I'm sure that, you know, people in the audience, regardless of their age, they'll watch it and they'll be like, I want to be that guy. I want to take part in that. That looks brilliant. Wow. You know,
I'm gonna follow on from that, Gordy, because actually there was also a kid from Ireland, come up from obviously Southern Ireland, a kid called Jordan Kinsella, who came out to watch in Belfast one year. The show finished. We were walking back, me and Matt, or it might have been Christian Stevenson at the time, handing our mic packs. And this little kid came running down to the front row after the show had finished and said, that was awesome. That was awesome. I want to do it. I'm going to get Dad to buy me a bike. 1 year later, he was on the start gate in the out of Belfast in the 65cc class, and he's still racing now. So, yeah, there you go. As proven.
Yeah, that's class. You know, from the other perspective, we're talking about racers here and coming to the show and getting sucked into the racing element. For the last few years, we're talking about bringing wives, you know, and things like that. You can't take your wife to a motocross race in shoes and, you know, nowhere to go, get drinks or food. What are we going to eat there? You know, going to this arena, I took my kids who are into motorbikes. They grew up around motorbikes, but I brought their friends and they were addicted to it. They loved, you know, you think you're going to watch, you know, grown men race motocross, and it was so much more than that. He got so excited watching the kids race. Like that was the highlight of his night, not watching the pro final where the, you know, the big money's up for grabs. Then the light show, he wanted to be, after watching Edgar Torrentieres, he wanted to be a beatboxer. It was like, you know, people forget this is like from, you know, 7 o'clock in the evening right to the final show. It's a show, you know. You tell your mate, oh, you're going to see a motocross race, but it's like from minute one to the end, it was incredible. And every year they're like, can we go this year? Can we go this year? So it's a pretty cool show.
Just to highlight that, Johnny, that we've got a massive Arenacross fan, also a big fan of Adam Chatfield, Victoria Connolly. Now she really supports what we do. Look at this, you know. I love this. We're on about like bringing the misses. It's the other way around with Victoria. I force my partner to go to Arenacross every year. Victoria, that's brilliant. And what's this other one? She's followed on with that. It's like my daughter was only 9 weeks old on our first show, and I mean, I think they've been every time. They're just super. Victoria's a super fan. So thanks for the continued support, Victoria. I say you guys over there are all genuine petrol heads, as Marty Barr described you all earlier on in the week. So I think Belfast is the only one that we go to or have been going to over the close to 100 shows where we have double headers every time. We've had double header events at some other places, but you know, they haven't really stuck, and one night seems the best way. But in Belfast, you know, Matt, every time, like, you know, it's always a great night. You know, I obviously love it, particularly when you guys come out and add something to it. So what's the plans for this year? Are you going to be in a position to maybe make it? I know that, Johnny, you're in the Algarve, you've been out testing in Portugal. Are you going to be back in town for the weekend, or is it a stretch too far?
No, I'm back. It's my only weekend off now before my first race, and my little man's playing football on the Friday night. But we're going to try and get there as soon as that's over, and I catch the back end of the show. So
cool.
Yeah.
Gordy, what are you up to? Are you or are you just too busy? Obviously, as I say, it's a busy time for you as well with your job with Honda Europe. You know, sorting out all teams contracts. I know you're probably a bit past that, but off season, there's no such thing as an off season really, and what for any of us really is. You know, so are you gonna be able to make it?
I'll be down. I won't be participating in any of the on-track adrenaline rushing good stuff. I'll be a spectator. And with that comes a wave of anxiousness. I don't know if I have foresight to all of the incidents that are about to happen, could happen. I'm a terrible spectator. I tend to just look and see, I know what's coming next. And,
Gordy, you ought to try commentating on it. Oh my God. Honestly, I'm so nervous all the way throughout because particularly as we all get older, you just see more dangers. When you're young and in the zone, you don't. But now I walk onto an Arenacross track and I just see, oh my God, like, yeah. So credit to them. But I know exactly what you're saying. But I think that's also what makes it so enthralling and appealing to the majority of the fans as well. It is so unpredictable. I know sport is, but because we've got 12 riders in such a confined track, you know, that's what makes it so unpredictable. What's your favorite part of it? Like, is it just watching the final and just watching the technique of the riders, or just in general the show in general?
The fierce competition, it always comes back to that core thing about, you know, man versus man. And you see the guys, nobody settles for second. Nobody's like, oh, it's okay, I'll finish fourth. You go ahead, I'll finish third. You know, that's the cutthroat bit. And it makes it a little bit like a tame version of the Hunger Games. You know, you see them going for those.
I'm stealing that, Gordy. Great quote. I'll claim that as mine.
Yeah, but I drop into the shoes of the guy leading the race, and he's got arm pump, you know, and he's maybe out of breath and his heart rate's sitting at 180, and the guy behind him's coming on the inside on every turn, but he's like, oh, if I try to protect, I'll not be able to do the rhythm after, or I'll be too slow to clear the whoops, you know. And I love that, and that's just, you know, busman's holiday for me to be there and watching that and see it all unfold. And I tend to struggle to spectate with anybody beside me, because they'll ask me questions and I'm going to be like, don't talk to me, don't interrupt me. No. And someone that doesn't get it, you know, won't appreciate that kind of you know, behavior back to them.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I know, Johnny, you're looking at the same. You know, you've obviously got motocross experience. You know, like I said, won championships and whatever, but now different technique, obviously, to what you're currently doing, and had a massive success with. But I guess, you know, as an ex-motocross racer, you'll be just basically admiring the skill set and determination. A completely different sport. Most people that I speak to, Johnny, about road racing think that you're absolutely crackers and mental, but you've had the privilege of doing both. So they're different disciplines, but you've got to respect them both in equal measure, because they're, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And physically, technically, both very similar. There's no room for error at all. I think my favorite part now as a spectator is actually watching the start, because you've got 10 guys there that at the drop of a gate, they're aiming for 1 meter square on the apex of turn one. And, you know, in Arenacross, getting a start or a hole shot, as we call it, is half the battle to getting a good result. So as a rider, honestly, the buzz I got, and I wish I ever used a heart rate monitor back then, but rolling into the arena for the first time for the night show was amazing, because, you know, all these guys all day Friday they'll be practicing all morning Friday, getting used to the track. But Saturday night rolling in to the first gate for your race, and the place is packed. The lights are on. It's that was for me feeling like I was an amateur. I rode the amateur 125 class, but like Gordy said, I felt like you feel like it's at A1. You feel like you're Chad Reed rolling out to A1, and it was a feeling that probably haven't ever replaced.
Well, look where you two are now. Let's be honest, it's been mighty fine, successful careers for you both. On that, we'll sign off with this because you're both busy, and I genuinely appreciate your time, and I know Matt and everybody at the AX will as well. Gareth Carruthers here has come on. Look at that. He's like, maybe a vet or legends race in the future. I can't see that happening. I can't see anybody that has committed to a full career of racing as a professional would. Well, Gordy, you've already answered that. I know it's a definite no from you.
You're either we could all be participants and have a ride around, but it's when the competition comes down to it, and I have taken part in some vet races, and I sign up to win, and I drive out of the venue. If I haven't won and I don't win, when I drive out, I'm just miserable, and I think, what did I do that for?
Yeah,
it's hard if you've got that inner, fight to compete, to win the race, to come out of retirement. If you're competing against other guys that have come out of retirement, couched to that's fine, but that doesn't seem to be the way with vet racing anymore, and it's a hard one to put yourself in that arena and come out of it chuffed with yourself, as I would say.
You've raced.
So what are you chickening out then, God? Are you not going to do this?
If there's a vet race,
he's pulling you up. He's pulling you up on it.
I mean, at the end, everyone has a price.
I mean, I haven't raced for maybe 20 years. So
Johnny, that Rob has come in and said, I don't know why he thinks I've got this kind of pull over you, because I clearly don't. There you go. But to be fair, he says get him at the VMXDN. He doesn't necessarily say get you to race at the VMXDN. Gordy, you've raced that event, and I can see your frustration. I saw your frustration on the times that you've done it. You're like, But I guess your contract wouldn't allow that anyway, Johnny, would it?
Tell me this, Gordy. You were in the team this year. Did you have to pull out?
Yes, working up, so I couldn't go.
I forget. Somebody texted me about this, and I know Paul Denning, my team manager at Crescent, is a massive motorbike or motocross fan.
They sponsor the event, Johnny. Yeah, supports
the event and everything. And somebody texted me like a week after you'd pulled out and says, do you fancy riding the MXDN? Gordy's just pulled out.
It was my idea, and I asked someone if he could twist your arm to have a go at it.
No, I swear, I text Paul and said, oh, they've just asked me, Gordy's pulled out, and they need a rider. And he says, are you joking? And he says, yeah, I am. But I wasn't joking. I was just looking for his blessing, and I would have well done that. I like Foxhill as well.
Yeah. Oh, mate. Well, I don't know what the calendar is, if it syncs or whatever, but maybe. I mean, obviously they support it quite heavily, and Yamaha have quite a presence. So maybe if you can't race it, Johnny, you might be able to come along and do the Legends lap, have a parade lap at least.
No, honestly, this Vets motocross is my bag in the next 10 years.
Gonna smash it.
I think, I'm going to forget about the road race job. As soon as I put a full stop in that career, I'm going to chase the empty hole that was my empty motocross career.
Come on, there's still world titles obviously in the bag yet for World Superbike.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I want to. I'm super excited about road racing. Every off season, I think all racers are the same. December, January, you always get. I look forward to that. Getting to work and looking forward to the season ahead.
Yeah.
And I love my motor. I actually had a huge motocross crash there about 3 weeks ago. And
I can't believe he's saying this live.
Yeah, and we're talking about tracks earlier, and in Spain they prep all the tracks really deep and rotivated, and it was silly on my behalf. I was a bit inexperienced, but I just rode out 10 o'clock track opened. It was 3 degrees. The track was ripped, but they didn't prep. The faces of the jumps were like concrete. And came into this tabletop with a bit of angle. It was like black ice, and lost the rear and just had the ghosty the bike. The bike got off a lot worse than I did, fortunately. So it's swerved that one, but I'm really excited about my season. We start our first races in Phillip Island in end of February, so not long to go now, and we'll get stuck into 25 in World Superbikes.
I know everybody will be supporting you. And I know I shouldn't highlight it again, but I'm going to. The last, because you said about wheels on the ground and stuff like that. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but the last onboard camera video that you threw out, I think was you at Rocco's Ranch, maybe.
Yeah.
And obviously it had all the analytics with it and the thing. Mate, you were getting a genuine lick on round there, like. It looked, the onboard cameras thing was like, okay, he's hauling.
Yeah, I was enjoying. The problem is I ride a lot. I ride a lot back home with Richard McKeown, and Richard's, he's better than me, and you can gauge him on the track, and it can be a couple of seconds here and there. But you go Spain in January is full of good national championship riders or slower private GP riders, and you see a name in the back of the shirt, and it's like the racer, and you just think, you just grit your teeth and you go after him, and then all of a sudden you're going way faster than your ability, and you think, you have a moment, you think, oh, I need to slow down here. So, it's I always breathe a sigh of relief when I can get out of Rocco's Ranch in one piece, and get stuck into my superbike gear.
James Watson's put something there, like maybe you two can have. I was always told this great story about Rick Johnson and Jeff Ward, and they were at Carlsbad one day, and they were the only two there. Like like when you could ride it, snuck in, and they basically had one of the greatest races they've ever had that nobody ever saw. They went at it like in the week, trying to chase down each other, and in the end, I think it was Johnson that said that Ward ran out of fuel, and he was so relieved, like, because he was so spent, he was so knackered, but he didn't want to like pull off the track before Ward did. And then Ward ran out of fuel, and like Johnson was like, "Oh, thank Christ for that!" Like that was like intense. So maybe you two can get up there to McGilligan, like behind closed doors, and duke it out, and have the greatest race that nobody ever sees.
There's a story I can add.
I knew you'd have a story, Gordy.
I thought it was going to be a short broadcast, but
I know. Sorry, mate. We're getting far too into it. We'll stop it after this one.
Some years ago, I believe 2003. It was around then. Jonathan, you were Red Bull with Honda at the time, and there was a Supercross in Dublin, and I was racing. Jonathan came down as a guest of Red Bull. And I just joked.
In the afternoon, after practice?
Yes.
Wasn't it?
Good point. Yeah, it was. You were down for the evening show. And I said, John, where's your gear? Come on. I've got a bike for you. I was completely joking. Jonathan went off and made a few phone calls. He phoned Linda Pell and he phoned Javier Beltram. Came back into my tent. Yep, I can do the race. Have you got a bike? I did. I had a spare bike, and I did have enough gear, and it all fitted. Honda bike, Red Bull. Yeah. It was Alpine Star gear. You were probably Alpine Star at the time. It all fitted well. So you'd probably no experience of riding a 252 stroke. That's what the bike was at the time. And you got some laps or a lap. But anyway, we lined up together for the first race. Jonathan on the inside, and if you got a good run across and swept in, you could actually jump the first two rollers, which was a double, but you had to actually get a good run and sweep in. So Jonathan hadn't done a start yet because he just got on the bike. So off I went. I went, and I'm nobody in my peripheral vision. I'm thinking happy days. I sweep in, go for the double. All of a sudden, my spare bike and all of my gear with Jonathan inside it, my right-hand side, and took both of us over the double and into the fencing upside down. So I was like, okay, this is a qualifying race, and thought this was meant to be a bit of fun, but that's just the spirit that's in that man. He races to win.
Yeah. Are you blaming my lack of experience there on the fact that you didn't actually get a hole shot and you tried to ride around the outside of me?
I'm rubbish at starts. Absolutely.
I think I still owe you a radiator from back then.
Don't worry. I think between Honda and Red Bull, we've done okay over the years.
I think you should do all right. If you two meet up, you two meet up in the bar on Friday night or Saturday night, maybe you can discuss that over a pint while you're watching the race.
Well, that was the other thing I wanted to bring up. So we talked about Jonathan racing in the Arenacross on a 125, and I think it was the last year that you did it. And what I remember the most was actually a discussion with your dad, Johnny Senior. And we were in Precious nightclub in the Odyssey complex, and we must have talked for what felt like an hour about whether you should go road racing or you should stick at motocross. And at that time, I was racing professionally and had a career in motocross. So I was I can't remember whether I was falling on the side of you should do motocross or you should do road race, but we had a fairly firm toe-to-toe debate about that. And I'll never forget it because I'm glad you took the road that you went.
Yeah.
Because for one, I wouldn't have to race against you and end up in the fence in the first turn every week.
Gordy, come on now. I know what you're doing there. You're sugarcoating that. I'm sure I'm going to get on a limb here, Johnny, and say actually he was absolutely convincing your dad to make you go road racing for that very reason. He just thought the kid's wild. I can't be dealing with him coming up through, getting gone. Just to further his own career. So you can thank Gordy.
Yeah, he's come out of it all right, I think.
He has indeed.
Yeah.
Listen, fellas, we said it was I only said it was going to be 10 minutes. I could chat with you guys, reminiscing and chewing the fat and bench racing all night, but we better not. We're both busy. I really appreciate your extra time because we rolled on for 40 minutes here. We was only meant to do 10. We'll continue the conversation in Belfast at the weekend, I'm sure. Thanks for supporting Arenacross down the years like you have and giving us so much entertainment. I wish you both the best for a successful season ahead. I'm sure you will have. And let's catch up over the weekend and have a cracking weekend.
Yeah. Brilliant. Good luck to all the Arenacross riders.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Johnny. Thanks, Gordy. See you all later. See you at the weekend. So there you go. There you go. There's two of the greatest motorcycle racers from Northern Ireland that have been an integral part of the Arenacross down the years. We've been going to Belfast, as I said, which is for every year. And we're doing it again this year with a double header this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Tickets are still available from the SSE Arena. I think we're getting close to sell out on certainly one of the nights, maybe both the nights. If you've never been to Arenacross before and you live in Northern Ireland or Ireland, make your way out, buy a ticket. It's a great night. We've got youth racing, obviously. We've got the amateurs. We've got the pros. Dean Wilson racing the Tour this year. So it's great to have him with us. And obviously Conrad Muse, Tommy Searle, Jack Brunel, Martin Barr will be racing, as well as Jason Meara for the Northern Irish contingent. We've got Jay McCrum in the amateurs and a bunch of kids also racing from Ireland and Northern Ireland as well. So if you're in that part of the world, come out this weekend. You've got 2 nights to choose from. It will be a cracker. And here we go, rounds 3 and 4 of the Arenacross ACU British Championship. We'll be at the halfway stage after the first round, and then obviously round 4 of a 6-round series. And our 100th show will be at Manchester. But before that, after Belfast, we're going to the following week, next weekend, we're off to Aberdeen. So if you're in Scotland and you're watching this, get tickets to go to the PJ Live Arena in Aberdeen, because we want to fill that place as well. Right, that's it, folks. Thanks for your time. Hope you enjoyed that chat with those guys. It was absolutely brilliant. And that's it. We'll see you at the weekend. I'll see you at the weekend. Hope to see many of you there. And if you can't make it, remember you can watch the live stream. Just go on axworldtour.com, and along the menu bar along the top, you'll see live stream. click on that, and that's where you can buy your pass to either one event or for the rest of the series. And that's going to be hosted by me and Billy McKenzie, and you get an experience of a real good experience of the actual live show as well of the event. So there you go. Right, that's my sales pitch. I'm done. Hopefully I'll see loads of you there in Belfast at the weekend. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. All the best.